Hello everybody. I see a lot of discussions on forums and some videos on what is the best walk around, carry around, all around lens to get. And you hear a lot of discussion on this. So I thought I'd do a quick video and give you my opinion on the subject. In my opinion, there are a couple of different ways you can look at it. And really it all depends on, it all comes down to money as usual. You kind of get what you pay for when you buy a lens. So let me give it to you in simple terms. Number one, if you are on a tight budget and you want to get the most out of your money and you're not concerned with the very, very best image quality you can possibly get, that's not your main concern, but your main concern is having one lens that you can do most photography work with and get good, decent results, or respectable results, almost, good results, are a couple different ways. The number one way is prime lenses. This particular lens right here is a 50mm f1.8, very inexpensive, gives you good image quality, very, very light, easy to carry around for a day, go for a hike, whatever. Good to take pictures of wildflowers, to a concert at night or a party in low light. So prime lenses, very, very good. They do not zoom. So if you want to get further away, get a wider aspect, then you need to back up. If you want to get closer to your subject, you need to walk in closer. That's the downside with a prime lens. But you're getting very good image quality, the ability to isolate your subject, and very, very good way to go. I think everybody should at least have one prime lens. There are good 50mm, 24mm, 28mm, that type of thing. Very, very good choice. And if you want a zoom lens, something like an 18 to 135. I did a video a few months ago on my 18 to 135. I've since sold the lens. I wasn't as happy with it as I could have been. I replaced it with a little better lens. But if you don't want to spend a lot of money, something like an 18 to 135, maybe an 18 to 200. Would be a decent choice. A 28 to 135 is also a pretty good choice in that range. Now these are Canon lenses. Nikon has similar lenses. If you're going to go that route, I would highly recommend the 18 to 135. Has a little bit better image quality than the 18 to 200. The 28 to 135 is also a very good choice. But they are variable aperture lenses. So in low light, not good lenses. For fast, quick action shots, not very good lenses. So they do have some limitations, but they are good lenses for a decent price. So there is the budget end of the walk-around lenses, I believe, are lenses like that. The prime lenses and the lenses like the 18 to 135, 28 to 135 type lenses, variable aperture lenses, or the prime lenses, which are not variable aperture, but they don't zoom. Then the next step up would be something like a fast prime, like a 50mm f1.4 or 1.2, something like that. Or I have a couple here that I really, really like. The Canon 17 to 55 f2.8 image stabilized lens. It's just really one of my all-time favorites. Has a very, very wide field of view, and it zooms into 55mm, as you can see there. So if you're out on a mountain trail, if you're at a concert, a party, or in low light, something like that lens is going to be just perfect for most situations. You can isolate your subject, have the background blurred out. Very, very good choice. Now, the lens that stays on my 7D most of the time is actually a lens that is sometimes recommended not to be used with a 7D or a crop sensor camera, which includes most cameras other than the really expensive ones. Most cameras are what they call crop sensor cameras. So what that means is when you put a lens on, put a 50 millimeter lens on, it's going to act more like a 75 millimeter. You need to times it by 1.5 or 1.6 depending on if you have a Nikon or a Canon lens. So your actual 50 millimeter is going to act more like it's zoomed in further, to make it really simple. That's not really how it is, I know, but anyway, that's why they say not to use a 24 to 105, but it all depends on what type of photographer you are. Where are you going to be carrying this lens around at? What type of photographer are you? Are you more into wide shots, or are you more into tight shots? Do you find yourself zooming in a lot? I myself find myself zooming in a lot, filling the frame, getting in close. So a 24 to 105 is perfect, I've found, for me on a 7D body, because 24 millimeters seems to be wide enough for me in most situations. So I would highly recommend a 24 to 105 if you're like me, and you like to zoom in, get in close, get in tight, fill the frame. The 24 to 105 is a very good choice. So there's the higher end of, walk around, carry around lenses. Now there are a lot more, including one that you have to consider, and that would be a 70 to 200. The f4 version the Canon makes is going to be a lot lighter. You're going to be able to carry it around for a day, and it's not going to, break your wrists. An f2.8 70 to 200 is almost out of the question for carrying around for a day. Very, very heavy lens, although it can be done. It's a heavy lens, but you'd get very good results out of it. I also find myself carrying around at a lot of the time my 55 to 250. Very inexpensive lens, and like I say, it starts off where my 17 to 55 zooms into. So it's a good fit for my 17 to 55 to have a 55 to 250 to go along with that. And that's something you want to keep in mind too when you're buying lenses, is don't overlap too much. Don't buy a 24 to 105 and then get a 70 to 200, because you're overlapping from 70 to 105. Anyway, keep in mind the balance of lenses you have. But so anyway, to boil it down, you have to look at what type of photographer you are, where you're going to be carrying around this lens at, what type of light you're going to be in. If you're going to be in low light, it's going to be low light situations a lot of the time, concerts, parties, indoor sports, that type of thing. You're almost going to need to have a fast lens, which means a low fixed aperture lens like a 2.8 aperture. No matter where you zoom the lens, it stays a 2.8 aperture. The less expensive lenses, as you zoom in, your aperture gets smaller. So it lets less light in, it gives you less of an ability to blur the background out, and it forces you to shoot with longer shutter speeds, which will produce blurry photos. So look at where you're taking pictures at, decide from there. If nothing else, these prime lenses are going to be good in almost any situation, and they're not too expensive, and they come in 24 millimeter, 28 millimeter, 35 millimeter, 85 millimeter, and 50 millimeter, and a bunch of other ones too. But prime lenses are a good way to go, but as I say, if you want to move in, you have to walk. And a lot of people don't like to walk. They like to sit in their seat or stay on the trail or whatever. So for most people, a zoom lens is going to be a good way to go. If you have the money, get something like a 24 to 70, 24 to 105, 17 to 55 f2.8. If you're on more of a budget, go with something like a 18 to 135, or a 55 to 250, 70 to 300. That type of lens is going to make most people happy in most situations. So there's a couple of different ways to look at it. There's no optimum carry around lens for everyone in every situation. So you have to look at where you're going to be the majority of the time, buy a lens that's suited for you, and go from there. So personally, the 24 to 105 stays on my 7D at least 50 to 70% of the time. It just seems to be a good lens for me personally. And I sold my 18 to 135 to get, in part, to get this lens, the 24 to 105. It's a lot more expensive, but boy, the results you get are very, very impressive. And I also like my very inexpensive lenses, like the 50mm f1.8, the 55 to 250mm, both inexpensive lenses that I've been very happy with. So look at your situation, look at what type of photographer you are, buy a lens that's suited for you, and you'll be a lot happier than if you just read some forum somewhere and take their recommendation. So hey, come over and join my Flickr group at flickr.com/group/Nate42nd, or just search for Nate 42nd group. Join us. We have bi-weekly assignments. It's been a lot of fun. We learn a lot over there. It's nice to see other people's work, and I really enjoy looking at you guys' photos. So come over and join us, and have a great day. Keep shooting.